Welcome to the 12th episode of our Lathrop Mortgage Podcast. I'm Jeff Lathrop, joined here with Bill Lathrop.
Morning.
Happy Friday. And we're getting into, like I said, another episode, and we kind of have more updates, basically news updates, what's going on in the market. There's a lot of stuff out there that can influence mortgage rates and what we do for a living and how we can help people. Loan limits are changing. There's stuff going on with, the government potential getting their budget sorted right for a shutdown kind of deal. So that all that stuff can have implications on what we talk about and what we do every day.
Yeah, because one of the biggest topics in our industry is rates. And today the jobs report came out. They anticipated new jobs about 173,000, and the actual amount was 336,000. So that was a big plus from that regard, unexpected. So that puts that pressure back on the Fed to slow things down, and their thoughts, they may take some action in November and December now, where it was all pretty subtle before. So that's a factor. It could affect our rates, which we saw rates take a negative move this morning, but now they're stabling out. Once the market tends to overreact, and then it comes back into reality of what's really going to be happening.
And I think we see that time and time again, those overreactions and then pullbacks. It's every time the Federal Reserve makes an announcement or there's any kind of big updates or job headlines, you can tend to see some overreactions. We think everything is priced in, now with technology and internet and everything is so quick to respond to. A lot of those updates, I would say they're 90% factored into the market already, but there's still that what if variable when those announcements are actually made.
Yeah, because they have all their estimates and they miss their targets by that far. It really fouls things up. And so it makes you wonder how they do that, but they do. Yeah, well, the other good news is with all this activity is they came out and have had projected loan amount increase for the new conforming loan limit, effective January 1 of 750,000. That's up, that's up, which is good. Well, the reason, so it gives you more, with the higher prices, the higher loan amounts available, et cetera. And that kind of ties in with the Federal Housing Finance Agency report that shows the home value increase from July of 22 through to July of 23 year over year of 4.6%. So we're still seeing the strength in values, which is why you're seeing the increase in loan limits. Now, these are all projected. Nothing's actually official, but that's what's anticipated for January 1. Some lenders may allow these loan amounts before that time frame, so check with your lender on these kind of individual announcements to find out what your loan situation might be. If you're maxed out at, if you need to get up to that 750, it'll really help you out.
And let's go back to that appreciation forecast. So 4%, that's more of a historical norm. That's more of what we would see if we did a big average. So 4% is pretty good. So prices are not declining. You're still getting your appreciation. It's maybe not 18% like it was a couple of years ago when the market was just exploding. Although I think that's a sliver of time, but it is a recent time that we're all remembering. So this is kind of more normalized with rates and appreciation and everything else. Still a great time to buy.
I agree. Bottom line is it's still going up, not as crazy, but the prices are higher, so the increases, are relative to that thing. But the point is it's going up. Everybody and their brother forecast with rates going up in 23, values would drop. Well, they were wrong, and we're witnessing that right now. And we have a reduced buyer market out there because there aren't as many people that qualify at these rates. So we hope we'll see that come down and move that back up, and we could just get that inventory number to edge up. That's our big issue out there right now.
So speaking of inventory and qualifications, something interesting coming out, Fannie Mae's making a change to their multi-unit properties used to require a 15 or more % down payment. Now they're going to a 5% down, and that has to be a primary, so you have to live there. So this would be going back to house hacking. You buy a house with a low down payment, rent it out, you offset your payment, you have a low down payment, and then when you go and buy your dream home, maybe you sell that or you use those rents as extra income to be able to afford your new home payment as well as that payment.
I think it's a great opportunity because a lot of people look at the initial mortgage payment and go, how am I going to do that? And then they might have some people that say they're going to move in with them. Well, here you can buy a multifamily property that has those rents already set up in places for these people to live, so you can have that and get into, adjusting to home ownership and those high mortgage payments. If that's what adjustment you're going through. That's a great opportunity, I think, in that realm because the biggest hurdle is down payment. in this market. And I think that kind of segues into what we want to talk about today. And it's the anticipation of, if you're renting and going into going to have a mortgage payment. And so you're going to just say, hey, I'm paying $1,500 a month for rent. My mortgage payment's going to be $2,600, and they come in like, yeah, that's no problem. Ratios work. Well, people have time to buy. They're taking a little bit more time right now. So the thing I've done from day one I got in this business and I learned is there's kind of a little test we put people to when they're first out shopping. And that is, let's see if you can save this. So show me you can save that. You're going to be $1,100, $1,200 more per month. Save $1,100 or $1,200 a month over the next 6 months, and then come back and we'll have another discussion. These are people just really getting refreshed into the market, because what they understand is it's a challenge, because you got to save money now that you were just spending.
And we're talking about the difference between qualification and affordability. So just because you can qualify for a payment that's 4 times your current rent, is your lifestyle used to that? Are you really going to be able to adjust to that cash outflow? Now, if you're saving all that extra money and you're just going to redirect some savings into housing, that makes sense. That's probably pretty easy. But if you're a spender, you go out to restaurants, all that kind of stuff, you can be surprised how hard it is to adjust to those differences, especially if this is something we call actually payment shock, which we do look for on VA loans, right? So making sure that the person can actually handle that increase in their housing expense.
Yeah, and it's a great way, because you can have the revenue, but it really evaluates your habits. And I think it's a learning curve, and I think everybody should go through this. Myself included, did it when we, back in the day. How are we going to afford this? Well, we're going to not have this. I'm going to knock off my 30 mochas a month or whatever it is. Bottom line is you're going to find a way to save this money. But over that 6-month period, you also get to learn, what really is your budget. Oh man, I had to get my front end aligned on my car because I ran into a pothole. That was unanticipated. That's $120. And here's something else that popped up. I had to get this done that was not in my budget. Here's another X amount of dollars. Oh, I had to go to the dental office for a visit because something happened, emergency type thing. These things come up in it's life. And so having the knowledge of how to adapt to these adjustments helps prepare you for when it happens, when you're in that larger payment and so forth. And if you're just really trying to get in there, you want to make sure those numbers are comfortable for you.
So you would say really get to know what we can maybe call your lifestyle cash flow. So different from your inflow and your outflow and actual bills and credit report, but real life.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what do you really spend? It's not all on a credit report. Hey, it's Netflix, it's this, it's that, all the little things you enjoy every day. It's part of life and you're entitled to it, if that's what you want to do. But understand what those costs are, and can you still afford all these items when you get in there? So I think it's the best plan. Planning is the best thing, obviously, when you're going in to do anything. But when you're going to spend money that's going to be long-term, 30 years is pretty much long-term, that you budget for this and you find out, okay, I can do this, and this is how I'm going to do it. And so you feel more comfortable making that step. It's nervous enough when you go to buy a home. There's all these processes, the money, the obligation, et cetera. So you really want to feel comfortable that you're prepared, you've done your homework. It's not just what's your rate and fee, when do you close? It's everything, because after that's your life. Then you get to do whatever you want to do with your home, because it is your home.
And I would say that's one of the biggest differences between renting and home owning is the permanence. And your example might be a little different than mine. Your example is actually save this money or rearrange your actual cash flow for a period of time to really feel it. My version of this might be develop a 12-month spreadsheet in Excel and plot that out. So just take out like your budget for meals. If you eat out for lunch every day at work, take that out. And maybe in that example, you should try eating sandwiches for a whole week or whatever you can take to work to see if you can really adjust to that. But I think there's another way to look at that too with software and to say, hey, if I make this decision in February, how's it going to affect me in November?
Oh, absolutely. I think in everything you look at, you're going to need a car. You're going to need those other expenses in your life, and these things happen. And, insurance, all the things that you're involved in doing the normal scheme of thing. But trying to budget the tangibles and intangible things, that are out there. So it's all about being looking forward, looking positive to the things, being realistic. plug it into the real numbers. And I think the best example we ever did is that 6 month or 12 month period. Now, most people, because right now, I think, 15% of people say they're looking to buy a home in the next 6 months, the survey that was done recently. Well, then let's do this over a 6 month period, and see what you can do. And even if you're not buying, try this on your own. See what's going on to improve your financial situation. Nobody ever gives you enough training about finances when you're growing up, except if you're fortunate enough that your parents do, or a family friend, or somebody. Because we see it all. We see people that make plenty of money, but then they spend a lot of money because they don't really have a good budget in mind. We have others that make every dollar go every direction and do a phenomenal job and have saved from day one. And their credit scores show it. Those are very significant things. And so if we can help coach people to that, it's a lesson to be learned. It's lifelong to carry on.
And this is where it really comes into us being an advisor or a consultant. And it's not necessarily saying that we have the right exact method of doing this, but you can talk to us and consult with us. We'll tell you what our experience is, and we'll also be a sounding board for people to ask us questions and say, hey, what if I did it this other way? Would that work, or am I missing something? And we're always open to those discussions. We have our, like I said, kind of our platform of things that we like to talk about and we have experience with. Doesn't mean we can't talk about other things and give advice on topics that we haven't covered yet. So if you have thoughts, you say, hey, I wonder if this would work, feel free to call a professional and talk about that with them as well, versus just taking advice. You can also kind of hash things out with them, get expert opinion on your own advice.
Yeah, planning, I think, is everything, and that starts from day one. And whether you're looking right now, plan right now. Just like we always say, get pre-qualified way in advance, so you're ready to go when you're going to make that move. And you can never do this stuff too far in advance or look at all these avenues too soon. It's a great opportunity. So if you get your budget figured out, and when you get into a home, you go, hey, I can afford to pay my loan balance down. That's when you get into other kinds of strategic planning. Pay my mortgage balance down a little bit each month. Then you can own your home sooner. Or you take that money and you invest it in other opportunities for your future, for your family. That's where you put your money to work for you, so you don't just let it go. And so when you're making money, you take advantage of it. When things are slower, you watch your budget. Nothing's just a perfect, scenario. So it's just take these times to planning. But I think when you're getting into home ownership and starting to save that down payment, convince yourself you can afford these payments, then prove it to yourself. You're going to prove it to us by your credit score, your ratios, so forth. That's what we're going to be looking at. But before you get to us, or while you get to us and start this process, prove it to yourself that you can do it. And then you feel very comfortable moving to the next step, battling with these rates. We know they'll eventually get better, but then you can adjust to that, as they do.
Well, and one step even beyond that, when they say, hey, is now a good time to buy or not? If you think now might not be the best time to buy, that's an excellent time to get pre-qualified, because if it does become the right time to buy and things get better, you already know what the worst case scenario is. Say if your idea is something better than what there is right now, you get an idea for your worst case scenario, and then it'll improve from there as if the market improves. And then you can track those things kind of from a good lookout point and say, hey, it's doing what I wanted it to do. Now I feel comfortable making that move because I'm prepared. In the slow times when you had time to talk about it and your consultant had plenty of time to call you back because activities are down, and then you can just jump on it when activity is up.
Well, and I think the other thing that comes into play there is just get it together. Because if you need to get your credit in play or save some money, give that time. If you need to eliminate an obligation, it takes 9 months to do that, then you're ready to go. You can see that in your future. And so there's your qualification scenario. If you eliminate say you got a $350 obligation per month and it's going to be gone, that really improves your buying power. And your cash flow improves, so it gives you that comfort zone. So doing those things instead of trying to jam in real quickly and not knowing, planning for that is huge. And I think it's very simple steps, and it's a reality check. And I think that's what everybody needs to do. Be sure you can afford this. When you make this commitment, be ready and be confident and enjoy it, because this process should be fun and enjoyable. It's a great stepping stone to, the American dream. So those are things you want to do and take advantage of, but be prepared.
And that kind of takes us back to our last podcast about how to choose the right mortgage lender. if you don't think now is the right time to buy and you're getting prepared and you're going to go on this journey and kind of get your steps identified and really plan it out, make sure you pick a good mortgage advisor and work with them for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, maybe longer. And maybe you find something right away and it's, hey, thanks for your service. I'll see you on the next one. But you're going to build a relationship with that person and you're going to have a process looking for the home because as we know in our experience, not very many people go and get that first house that they make an offer on.
Not in this market.
And I've actually had a couple clients that did, and it's they almost don't know how lucky they are. And these clients do, but it's like, wow. And you just get so excited when that does happen. But back to my point, it's kind of get to know your person and really get familiar with the scenario, and you can have a really fun time doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's key, build a relationship is what it's all about. Trust and knowing that we're moving together in the right direction because we're working together. It's our job to get you in a mode where you're ready to buy and you can enjoy that process. And if it happens sooner, great. If all the things line up and you're ready to rock and roll, fantastic. If it takes a little bit longer, some things are meant to be that way. And we've seen people take some time to do it because it's a different market. I hate to keep saying that, but it is. And so be prepared to fit right into that market the best way you can.
So yeah, I think that says a lot for getting prepared. What else do you have on your bullet point list there that we can go and discuss a little bit here?
Well, the biggest thing was just like, I think you brought it up too, is just because we say you're approved at $700,000, do you want to spend $700,000? Is that payment comfortable for you? That is the other part of that analysis is do what you want. Do what you want. Do what feels right and comfortable and still gets you what you need. So you're aware of all the numbers and it's in your comfort zone. So you don't have to max out and you don't, and be sure you make it comfortable. I guess that's the key thing is be within your limits and make sure your agent, has that relationship with you so they keep, trying to find out what you're looking for.
Well, and so, yeah, because if your budget, say you are approved for more than what you want to spend monthly, so you say, hey, lower my approval to where it fits what my monthly spend goal. But then you find, hey, this isn't really getting me the type of house I want to get. So now you're going to have to adjust your search parameters and maybe figure out, hey, can I take a smaller yard? Could I do a smaller garage? Or do I need to look at a condo? And then you figure out what's comfortable for you instead of saying, well, I'm qualified for this house. I don't really want to spend it, but I'm going to have to bump up my budget now to fit what's out there that's reasonable. It's like maybe get into, not the house of your dreams on the first one, if that's the more comfortable budget. So a lot of different ways to look at that. You could also say, hey, stretch it as hard as you can because it's never going to be this cheap again. If you wait 10 years to get your dream home, you might have saved some money doing it the first time out. So,
well, true. Everybody's got a different scenario. I wish everything was cookie cutter, but that's why you need to start that conversation, get going, get in that pre-approval phase, the planning phase, and evaluate these numbers and your comfortability, because people that are qualified to pay X, and then you show them what they're qualified for. They go, there's no way, But then they go out there and look and find something that fits, and they go, okay, I can afford that, because if they see something that they want, they can't afford, we can't do the loan, So we try to keep them in reality steps, but it's bottom line is get in there first, run through all the numbers, feel comfortable, do your planning and processing, and prove to yourself you can save the money, you can afford this, and it's a great way to go. Because like I said, back to that challenge, you talked about the new loan program with 5% down for multifamily owner occupied. It's awesome because that's the hardest thing is getting that down payment, and to be able to take advantage of rental income and having something help offset your ability to get into housing, then that can give you the stepping stone for your next property, that type of thing. And then, it goes. And
all these things too, they depend on, is it your first house, your second house? Are you looking to entry level and you have a lot? Some of my clients, they say, I want to buy 10 houses and build this real estate, portfolio. Some clients say, hey, I just want a place to live and raise my children. So depending on what you're after, different strategies, obviously. And we've seen a pretty wide range of that. I think you've had customers that have grassed airport landing strips on their property because they want to fly their plane around. And if you can qualify for something like that, it's amazing. And that's when you really get into the unique benefits of home ownership and getting to really live your life to its fullest potential and, build exactly what you want to do with your day.
Yeah. It's like I said, everybody's different. And yeah, we met some pretty neat clients over the years that have had some pretty neat properties that, I mean, they fit exactly what they want, may not fit somebody else. Somebody wants that, like you said, I just want a home that's comfortable and quiet, a place to raise my family. Others I want this space. I want to do this. I want to do that. And where they get the energy, I don't know, but they got it and they make it happen. It goes back to pick a good agent. Hopefully you're dealing with somebody locally in our good Thurston County Realtors group. And because we certainly love the local people and we, being a local lender, we like that too, but we feel that makes a difference in our market.
That might be a good place to wrap up our podcast, unless you have any other zingers you want to deliver.
No more zingers, man. It's going to be a quiet weekend for me. No Seahawks, no Huskies. Got a bye week, time to, catch up and enjoy this last weekend of a gift of summer we're going to have, because
record highs, I think, maybe today and this weekend.
It's going to be awesome. So enjoy it, get outside, enjoy the Northwest, have fun. If you want to buy a house over the weekend, a lender to call. We'll be available,
That's right.
Anyhow, enjoy it and have fun, and because the wet days are ahead.
That's right. Okay, well, episode 12 podcast. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys next week.
Sounds great.